I believe it was Albert Einstein who famously said, your home lab must only contain servers that are enterprise grade and are extremely loud and bulky. But you know what I say? I say phooey. Today, we are going to build an aesthetic home server that can sit in your living room, look great, and do everything a home server needs to do, from network shares, virtual machines, Docker, and even maybe some gaming. Now, where, oh where can we get some parts for a server?
Yeah, of course, it's Micro Center, who is the sponsor of this little adventure of mine today. And that's awesome and all, but y'all know that Micro Center is the best place to go to get your hands on some actual tangible PC parts. So let's go. Okay, normally when you're building out a server, the last place you're really starting is with the cases, but in this case, no pun intended, we're looking for something aesthetic, something that's gonna go in the living room. So we actually want to start here and make sure that we get something that we actually like looking at. And I went with the Fractal Ridge. It's not actually on display here, but I wanted something small, compact, looks good, and has a decent amount of expansion. So again, this build is going to be entirely subjective, and I like the look of this. Through the power of editing, here's what it looks like on the screen. But yeah, this is going to be the first piece of the puzzle. The Fractal Ridge, $140. Let's get it. All right, next, and arguably one of the most important pieces of any system really is your processor. And today we're actually going with an AMD chip. I know usually Intel with their quick sync and everything, it's great, but I want to mix things up a little bit today. We're going with an AMD Ryzen 5 7600, and the reason I wanted to go with this is, one, I think it's a pretty solid deal. $170 for this one, and you get 6 cores, 12 threads. And the big thing that I like about the newest AMD chips is that they finally put integrated graphics on their entire lineup, which is huge for servers because you guys have been in the situation where you need to set it up or you need just basic video output. And AMD usually doesn't have it. So now that we have it, I want to give AMD a go here. And now, depending on which case and which chip and your needs, you could go with a combo. Micro Center has awesome combos with processors, motherboards, and RAM, but we need a specific motherboard for this. Let's go see it. Yep, so when it comes to motherboards, our options were pretty limited, and that's on me. We specifically had to go with an ITX form factor, meaning a really small motherboard, basically the smallest size motherboard that they make. And when you go with this size, you don't really have many features to choose from, but the one I went with was the Gigabyte A620i, and it's like the entry level chipset for this generation. And that's fine because what it does have is a single 16x PCIe Gen 4 slot, 2.5 gig networking, and NVMe, which is enough. And it has the basic features. We get SATA, we get USB-C, a lot of the things that may matter to some people but may not matter to others. And we're going with a general all-around system here, so honestly this is going to be plenty, and especially for the price, which I think was like $160, $150, thank you. I probably should have known that before I started talking about it, but that may sound like a lot for an entry-level motherboard, but you'd be surprised these ITX boards are actually more expensive. So $150 for this, solid. All right, the wall of RAM. The specific one that we wanted was this kit right here. This is obviously DDR5, because that's what our motherboard supports. This is a G.Skill 2DIMM, 32 gigs, so 16 each. And I said this in my last server video, and I stand by it. RAM isn't too important when you're building out a server outside of capacity. So this is DDR5 6000, not the fastest, but for $83, 16 or 32 gigs worth of capacity, this is going to be plenty. And yeah, I know a lot of you are saying,
well, what about the cache latency? That's not the fastest.
Again, for a server, it's fine. This is perfectly fine. So this is what we're going with. You could do more if your requirements require more RAM, but for an all-around system, I think 32 gigs is perfect. Okay, and probably one of the most variable parts of any server build. Obviously, the chassis people can have different preferences. You have different, computing needs, but for the most part, the general, range of what people need is very narrow. But when it comes to storage, that can be expanded a lot. So what I wanted to go for was enough to get the job done, to host some virtual machines, some basic stuff, and then enough actual storage to host, some media, but nothing crazy. We're not going for a giant petabyte system here. This is a small, compact, quiet, aesthetic system that goes in your living room. So I went with this Crucial P3, is that right? P3 Plus, 1 terabyte for $62. That's not right. Yes, it is. $62 for 1 terabyte of NVMe. This is great. This is going to be more than enough to host our virtual machines and get the job done as a boot drive. But for more storage, let's go check out some other things. All right, in terms of more storage, this is going to be something a little bit different too. Our case, by design, doesn't support 3.5-inch hard drives, so you're not going to be building out mass storage just like we talked about. But we are going to use 2.5-inch SATA drives. And I got 2 of these 2 terabyte inland platinum SSDs, $95 each. What you're gonna do with these, you can RAID 0 them and get 4 terabytes, make them go fast. You can RAID 1 them, have mirrored redundancy. It's up to you. I haven't decided what exactly or what configuration I'm gonna use these in, but again, this is gonna be enough storage for the general use case that we want. It's gonna be fast and it's gonna be quiet and it's not gonna use a lot of power, so perfect for our system. And speaking of power, we need a power supply. So generally when building out a PC, for the most part, you can just point to a power supply with the biggest number and enough power to power all your stuff and be perfectly fine, to be honest. And that's true for the most part with this system, but about the system, again with the case, the thing that we're going for is small. In this case, supports SFX form factor power supplies. So they look just like normal ones, but they're a bit smaller. So the one we went with was a 750 watt one from Lian Li. I believe it's an 80 plus gold. Perfectly fine. This is plenty considering we are not going to be using a GPU just yet. Now our case does support expansion, PCIe expansion. It has a 3-slot space for a PCIe card with a riser. So down the road, if we want to add something, we can certainly do it. We have 750 watts here, and this is going to be perfectly fine. It's going to fit in our case. It's going to give us all the power we need. So let's go with this. So here it is, all of our parts for our aesthetic home server build, and total price coming in at just under $1,000, which for brand new parts with warranties is pretty solid. And Micro Center even has something called Priority Care Plus, which will let you call in for any electronics in your house, for networking, for printers, for building out your brand new computer. You can call in and get virtual support over the phone, and it's great. Check it out. They also have some awesome deals on monitors going on right now. So if you need one of those, obviously come to Micro Center and check that out. But we have to get home and put this thing together, so let's do it.
Okay, here's all the parts, and it's been a few days. Honestly, it's because when we left Micro Center, we went to Costco and I absolutely murked a chicken bake and a hot dog and a strawberry sundae. So I got home, I had a nap, and here we are a few days later. Let's put it together. Okay, first thing we start with is the motherboard. I mean, look how tiny this is. Also, look at the size of this power supply. This is crazy. So yeah, we are going with the AMD stock cooler, and these historically have been more than adequate, especially for these lower power Ryzen chips. Like it's a Ryzen 5 7600. It's not, a 9950X that we're overclocking. So this will be perfectly fine. And I think it looks good. Well, we gotta take off the clips, and we're never gonna need these again. So I'm throwing them out. Surely I won't regret that in the future. Oh, it comes off like that. Oh. So yeah, it does come with 2 fans pre-installed, which are in an intake configuration. Obviously you can swap them around if you want. You can see it also has the built-in riser right here. There's a PCIe extension. Okay, everything is wired up and good to go. I guess I'll just show you what it looks like. I think I did decent. It's a tight fit for any ITX build. Your wiring is gonna be pretty difficult, especially if you want to make it look good. But other than that, I'm going to put this on, or put the side panels back on,
and install the horizontal mount. There we go. So, yeah, let's plug it in and make sure it actually turns on. So 1, 2, 3, fans are running. Okay, it's running. I guess what we have to do now is set it up as a server. And you know what? If you've seen my videos before, you're probably thinking, Brett, you're just gonna install Proxmox on here. And under normal circumstances, I would, but you know what we're gonna do today? We're gonna let the home lab gods decide, and I'm gonna put in different operating systems and spin a wheel, and it's gonna be random. And I'll install that OS on here and use it as a server. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so on here, we have Proxmox, we have Windows, we have Hex OS, AKA TrueNAS Scale, and Zima OS. So here we go. Let's let the fates decide. The winner of the aesthetic home server operating system is Proxmox. Okay, I feel like that was planned, but it really wasn't. And that's kind of boring. So you know what I'm gonna do? All right, if the gods really and truly want it, we'll have to get Proxmox 2 times in a row for me to do it. All right, so you can't complain if I get it 2 times. So the winner of this, no matter what, is gonna be what I install. I feel like the 2 most hated options. Okay, Windows. We're doing Windows on here. You can't complain. Honestly, all of these are perfectly fine. You can go with whatever. I just wanted to jazz it up a little bit. So yeah, we're going Windows. Let's do it.
And here it is, our aesthetic server sitting in our living room, and I didn't plan it, but it kind of lines up perfectly with this little TV stand thing, and I am running Windows, and I know that's cringe for a home lab to host your server on Windows, but honestly, guys, it can do basically anything you need it to in its own Microsoft Windows way. For example, I set up my 2 drives in a RAID 1 configuration using Windows storage spaces, which is essentially their version of RAID, so I do have them mirrored. I did go in and create a share, which you do through File Explorer, and it's honestly not too bad. It is SMB, it's not NFS, but SMB works with everything, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, so I mean, it works. Like I said, it can do everything. I usually go with VirtualBox for virtualization and VMs and stuff, but this time I opted for Hyper-V, which is Windows, their virtualization software platform. And honestly, I don't hate it. It works pretty decently. You do have to install the Hyper-V Manager app to get like an actual UI, unless you want to do everything through PowerShell, but I don't. In terms of Docker, it works fine. You actually technically run Docker in Linux because you install WSL2 on here, which is Windows Subsystem for Linux, which is actually a full-fledged Linux system contained in Windows. And from there, that's where you run Docker. You get the Docker desktop app. You can run your Docker deployments or containers, everything you want. And honestly, I've done videos on this before. Works perfectly fine. And now I think the main benefit of running Windows in a situation like this is that you have a full-fledged Windows desktop, meaning you can just hook it up to your TV and you can do whatever you want, browse the internet and game if you want to. Now, I did leave the PCI Express slot open. I haven't decided what I want to put in there. I actually have something coming in tomorrow that I actually want to put in here, but I just raw dogged this and I did try some games, and with the integrated Radeon GPU in these Ryzen chips, it's okay. I mean, you're not going to do AAA titles or anything, but like regular games or like esports titles, it's going to be perfectly fine. And especially if you want to run this as like a little retro console and do some retro gaming or emulators, this is going to be great. And yeah, I mean, I can't complain. I really actually like this build. Now, like I've said before, it's subjective. If you need more hard drives or storage, go with something else. I mean, this wasn't to say do this exact build. Just, you know, just showing you that you don't have to buy enterprise gear or have a 42U rack with loud ass servers just to have a home lab. This can be your home lab server, and that's perfectly fine. So what do you think? Do you guys have any aesthetic servers in your build? Let me know down in the comments what you did and if you like it. But that's all I have for this one. Drop a like if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube members and my Patreons. You guys are my super aesthetic server build that's really quiet and only sips 35 watts of power. You guys are fantastic. And if you're still watching, you're a 10,000 RPM fan. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.